I found the bus at 3:17 a.m. on Route 47, 20 miles outside Cedar Falls. I'm Detective Jim Morrison. Been working these roads for 12 years. Never seen anything like this. Doors wide open. Engine still running. 32 passengers got on that bus in town. Only one made it home alive. Her name was Mia Smith, 19 years old, college student. I was the one who took her statement 3 days later. This is her story. This is what happened on the number 9 bus. I've lived in Cedar Falls my whole life. I know every road, every farm, every family for 50 miles. The number 9 bus has been running the same route since I was a kid. My dad used to take it to work at the grain elevator back in the 80s. I always thought it was safe. Hell, I used to tell people it was the safest way to travel out here. Tom Martinez had been driving that route for 15 years. I knew Tom. Good man. Never caused any trouble. Had a wife, 2 kids, coached Little League on weekends. October 13th, I was working the night shift like always. Got the missing persons call around midnight. Family worried about their daughter not coming home from college. Said she always took the number 9 bus on Fridays. Always got home by 11. I spent weeks learning about the people who disappeared that night. 31 souls, plus Tom Martinez. I visited their families. I sat in their living rooms and listened to their stories. Maria Santos worked at the hospital where my wife had our first baby. Sweet lady, always remembered people's names. Her daughter Rosa showed me pictures. Maria always carried photos of her grandchildren. She was supposed to make Sunday dinner that weekend. Jake Morrison worked construction with my brother-in-law. Hard-working kid, never missed a day. Had his whole paycheck in his wallet because he didn't trust banks. He was planning to propose to his girlfriend Amy. I had to tell Amy he wasn't coming home. The Hendricks family. I knew Robert from high school. Good farmer. Good father. Their car broke down that Friday afternoon. Taking the bus was supposed to be temporary. Their boy, Tommy, was 8 years old, same age as my nephew. I had to tell 12 other families that their loved ones were gone, disappeared without a trace. I still see their faces in my dreams. Mia Smith was sitting in my office, wrapped in a hospital blanket, hands shaking. She could barely speak, but she forced herself to tell me everything, every detail. She said everything seemed normal until Miller's Crossing. I know that stop. It's where Tom always took his 10-minute break. Drivers' union requires it. But that night, he didn't stop, just kept driving east. Mia looked up from her textbook and noticed other passengers getting worried. An old man, she didn't know his name, tapped on the window and called out to Tom. No response. Tom just kept his hands on the wheel and stared straight ahead. That's when Maria Santos got up and walked to the front. Sarah said Maria wasn't afraid of anything. She asked Tom what was wrong, why they weren't stopping at the usual places. Sarah will never forget what happened next. Tom looked at Maria in the rearview mirror, and his eyes were different. Empty. Cold. He told Maria to sit down and shut up, but Sarah swears it wasn't Tom's voice anymore. Something deeper. Something that made her skin crawl. Maria didn't sit down. She stood right there behind the driver's seat, watching him. Sarah thinks that's what kept Maria alive for as long as she did. I checked the route myself after Sarah's statement. The number 9 was supposed to turn onto County Road 15 at 10:20 p.m. Instead, Tom drove straight past. Kept going east into farm country where cell towers are few and far between. Sarah said Jake Morrison was the first one to check his phone. No signal. She watched him walk down the aisle, asking other passengers to try theirs. Nothing. Dead air. I know those roads. There are stretches where you can't get a signal for 20 miles. People started to panic, but quietly. Nobody wanted to make things worse. Sarah said the Hendricks family moved closer together. The old man kept whispering prayers. She could hear him from 3 rows back. Sarah grew up on these roads, just like I did, but looking out those bus windows, she didn't recognize where they were. The landscape looked wrong, darker. The trees seemed twisted, and even the moon looked dim. At 10:35, Tom's voice came over the intercom. Said they were taking a detour due to construction, but I checked with the county. There was no construction anywhere on Route 47 that weekend, and Sarah said his voice still sounded wrong. Not human. That's when Maria Santos made her move. She grabbed the emergency brake. The bus stopped hard on a dark stretch of road. Nothing but cornfields for miles. I know exactly where. I found the tire marks 3 days later, along with Sarah's blood on the broken glass. Tom Martinez turned around in his seat. Sarah described what she saw, and I've been a cop for 12 years. I've seen car wrecks, murders, overdoses. Nothing prepared me for her description of Tom's face. She said his skin looked gray, dead. His eyes were completely black, not just the pupils, everything. And when he smiled, his teeth looked sharp, like an animal's teeth. Tom stood up slowly. He was a big man. I'd seen him around town plenty of times. But Sarah said he moved like something else was controlling his body, like a marionette with invisible strings. Maria kept backing away from him, but there was nowhere to go. The doors were locked. Tom had the only key. She kept asking what was happening, begging him to let them go. Then Tom started speaking, but not in English, not in any language Sarah recognized. She said it sounded old, ancient. The words made her teeth ache just listening to them. The lights started flickering. The engine made sounds like metal screaming. Outside, the corn started moving even though there wasn't any wind. I measured those fields later. No wind damage, but the corn was swaying like something was walking through it. That's when Sarah realized they weren't dealing with Tom Martinez anymore. They were dealing with something else wearing his face. Sarah hid behind her seat when it started. She peeked through the gap and watched the thing that looked like Tom point at the old man who'd been praying. The old man stood up, not because he wanted to. Sarah was clear about this. His body just moved on its own, like puppet strings were pulling him up. His eyes showed pure terror, but his mouth was smiling that same wrong smile. He walked in front of the bus like he was sleepwalking. Tom opened the doors, and the old man stepped out into the darkness. Sarah heard his footsteps in the gravel, then in the corn. Then she heard him start laughing. She said it wasn't human laughter. It was something pretending to be human laughter, but getting it wrong. The sound lasted maybe 2 minutes, then stopped. The old man never came back to the bus. Jake Morrison tried to fight it. When Tom pointed at him, Jake grabbed his seat with both hands. He was strong from construction work. But it didn't matter. His own hands let go. His own legs carried him forward. Before Jake stepped off the bus, he looked back at the other passengers. Sarah said he mouthed the word, "Run her." Then he walked into the corn and started making that terrible laughing sound. One by one, Tom called them. One by one, they walked into the darkness. The Hendricks family went together. Robert first, then Linda, then little Tommy. Sarah said the boy was crying until his feet hit the gravel. Then he started laughing like the others. I still wake up some nights thinking about that little boy's laughter. By 11:30, only 5 passengers were left. Sarah Chun, Maria Santos, a young couple named Washington, and a teenage boy who never gave his last name. Sarah called him Eddie. Maria Santos was smart. She figured out that Tom couldn't control people if they weren't looking at him. She whispered to the others to close their eyes and keep them closed. It worked for a while. Tom kept pointing, kept making those horrible sounds, but their bodies stayed in their seats. Sarah said it was hard, though. Something kept trying to force her eyelids open, like invisible fingers prying at them. Eddie couldn't hold out. He was just a kid, maybe 16. His eyes snapped open, and he looked right at Tom. Sarah heard him whisper, "No, no, no," as his legs carried him to the front. The Washington couple lasted 10 more minutes. Newlyweds, Sarah said. They held hands, tried to stay strong together. But the thing wearing Tom's face was getting stronger, more impatient. Mr. Washington looked first. Then his wife couldn't stand keeping her eyes closed while her husband walked away. She followed him into the corn. Sarah said she could hear them both laughing out there, but it wasn't their voices anymore. That left just Sarah and Maria. Two women alone with something that had stolen their bus driver's body. Maria Santos saved Sarah's life. I met Maria's daughter Rosa after everything happened. She said her mother was the toughest woman who ever lived. Raised 4 kids alone, worked 2 jobs, never backed down from anything. Maria told Sarah to keep her eyes shut no matter what happened next. Then she opened her own eyes and looked right at the thing wearing Tom's face. But instead of walking forward, she ran toward the back of the bus. The thing tried to control her, but Maria had something the others didn't have. Pure rage. She smashed the emergency exit window with her purse. I saw that purse later. Heavy leather with metal clasps. She cut her hands to pieces getting that window open. Maria grabbed Sarah and pushed her through the broken window, told her to run and never look back. Sarah fell hard on the gravel road, skinned her knees and elbows, but she got up and ran. Behind her, she heard Maria fighting, heard the thing that looked like Tom making inhuman sounds. Then she heard Maria scream, not laughing like the others, but a real human scream of pain and terror. Sarah ran through cornfields in complete darkness. Branches cut her face. She fell into irrigation ditches and got back up. She could hear something crashing to the corn behind her, getting closer and closer. She ran for 2 hours before she saw the lights of the Kowalski farm. They took her in, called us, wrapped her in blankets while she tried to explain what had happened. That's how I got the call at 3 a.m. I found the number 9 bus exactly where Sarah said it would be. Doors open, engine running, completely empty. I've processed hundreds of crime scenes, but this one was different. Too clean. No signs of struggle inside, but something felt wrong. I called in search teams at dawn. We found tracks leading into corn, but they ended after 50 yards. Like 31 people just vanished into thin air. We searched for weeks, helicopters, dogs, volunteers from 3 counties. We never found a single body. No clothes, no personal belongings, nothing. But all the corn in a 2-mile radius around that bus had died overnight, turned black like it had been burned from the inside. Agricultural experts couldn't explain it. Sarah spent 3 days in the hospital. Her physical injuries healed fine, but she stopped talking after she gave me her statement. She just stares out windows and draws pictures. Always the same thing. Cornfield with dark figures standing in them. I convinced the bus company to shut down Route 9. They sold the bus for scrap, but the buyer couldn't get it to start. Said the engine was fine, but it wouldn't turn over. They eventually abandoned it in Peterson's junkyard. Tom Martinez's wife Linda came to see me a week later. Said Tom had been acting strange for days before that Friday. Not sleeping. Talking in his sleep in words she'd never heard before. Foreign words. Old words. I closed the case after 6 months. Officially, it's a mass disappearance with no suspects and no leads. But I don't sleep well anymore. I still patrol Route 47 every night. Can't help myself. I keep thinking about what Sarah told me in that hospital room. What she heard when she was running through the corn. She said they were all still out there in the darkness. Tom Martinez, Maria Santos, the Hendricks family, all of them, still moving around. Still making that terrible laughing sound. The corn grew back the next spring. Kowalski says it grew faster and taller than it ever had before. But nobody harvests those fields anymore. Local kids dare each other to walk through them at night, but nobody's brave enough to try. Sarah's still in the care facility, still drawing her pictures. But lately, the figures in her drawings have been getting closer to the road, like they're waiting for something, or someone. Route 47 stays open because people need it. Farmers, workers, families just trying to get home. But I put up signs warning people not to stop along that stretch. Not for anything. And on Friday nights, when the wind comes from the east, I swear I can hear something moving through those cornfields. Something that sounds like laughter. Something that's still hungry. If you ever find yourself driving Route 47 late at night, take my advice. Keep your windows up, doors locked, and don't stop for anything. Whatever you do, don't look into the corn, because I have a feeling something's looking back. This is story 1. I have decided to keep this series short. So come back later to see the second story where a truck suddenly stops on the highway and something tragic happens. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And when you sleep, keep your windows closed.